Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new hour of National Report. We're glad you're here. I'm Emma Reckenberg.
And I'm Sean Kreisman. We continue to follow the news of what's happening there in Ukraine as Russia continues attacking. And now we know this. There have been attacks, shutdowns rather, of several government websites reported. Our Daniel Cohen from Jerusalem will have later in this hour.
Yeah, those having to do in Israel. But first, we are turning to Ukraine, where our own Sarah Williamson is standing by live with the very latest there. Sarah, what can you tell us about what you're seeing today?
Well, Emma, I think you said it perfectly in the intro there when you said Russian troops have been stalled outside of the capital, because that is exactly what has been happening for the past few weeks now. They can't make their way in to the capital, but they continue to shell it from the outside. We are seeing more and more attacks on residential buildings here inside Kyiv, just like we saw last night, where another 2 people were killed in those high-rise apartment buildings. Just another tragic loss of civilian life that we have seen 2 days in a row now. We also heard that huge explosion last night that woke not just me up, but everyone in our hotel and most people in central Kyiv here when those missiles hit the central train station. Now, this is a heavily populated area in the middle of the day, so but we were very lucky that if it was going to hit at all, it was to hit at around 4 a.m. when it did happen. So this seems to be the only way that these Russian troops are being able to hit Kyiv at all, is to do it in the middle of the night when people are paying less attention, when most people are sleeping, because this city is so fortified, and the Ukrainian military has done such a good job at protecting the walls of this city and preventing any Russian troops from getting inside the walls of this city at all. So they can really only begin their offensive on this city when it becomes nightfall, although we do at the moment hear a number of air raid sirens that have been going off in the last few days now, a lot earlier than what we have been hearing in previous weeks. We are now tonight going into a 35-hour lockdown beginning at 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. On March the 17th. This has been announced by Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. We believe that this might be because of these strikes that we are having on the city, that the Ukrainian forces might be ramping up their offensive towards the Russian military because of these strikes that we are having on the city here.
Yeah, a very frightening 35-hour period, Sarah, you're about to enter into. Unknown at this time what that might entail. But happening sooner than that even, those leaders of Poland, Slovenia, Czech Republic, they're headed to Kyiv to meet with Zelensky. Do we have any idea what might take place during those meetings?
Well, from what I do know, actually, Emma, is this meeting has actually already happened. That meeting was kept a secret until after they came into the city, and it was only announced that they were here after the meeting had taken place. So we don't know what came out of this meeting. We know that they were in downtown Kyiv, which is probably the safest area that they could be right now, because where we are now in downtown Kyiv too, you really do feel like you're in any other European city. There are still people outside walking around. There's still cars on the road. And it is, like I mentioned, a heavily fortified city. There is a lot of Ukrainian military presence on the ground. And I can only imagine that these leaders would be under some very heavy security right now. And I don't believe that they would have announced their meeting ahead of time because of that reason, in case of any Russians getting word of the fact that they would be coming in to Ukraine ahead of time. So this meeting was kept a secret until after they had reached Kyiv and held that meeting, but we still don't have any information about what came out of this meeting.
Right. We're able to relay that it happened. We're still waiting for those details. Sarah Williamson, live for us in Kyiv. Sarah, thank you very much.
All right, with more on the war in Ukraine, how it's affecting us at home, we'll bring in Congressman Chuck Fleischmann of Tennessee joining us live here, and you've seen it. It continues, shelling on multiple buildings, apartment buildings, and more. Congressman, good to see you. I want to bring this to your attention. Vladimir Zelensky is set to speak with Canada today virtually, and then on Wednesday with members of Congress, as yourself. I'm curious to know, do you plan on attending this meeting? I know all members, both House and Senate, are able to go if they would like or if they can. And what do you expect to hear from Zelensky?
Well, thank you. Yes, I will be in attendance, and I expect to hear the candid truth from President Zelensky about what is actually going on in his country. I was able yesterday to actually speak with some people from the Ukraine, actually a company that works in the nuclear field, a company called Rady, and they were telling me actually what was going on there on the ground. They were very, very thankful for the aid package that we passed in Congress. I actually voted for that aid package, over $13 billion. But really, we want to hear from Zelensky as to where things are exactly all across that war-torn nation. And really, there'll be a unified front against Russia and against Putin. We see that in the House. We see that in the Senate. We even see that from the Biden White House against what Russia is doing in that country.
You bring up President Putin, and he seems to be the person to blame for the rising gas prices if you ask the White House. I'll play this for you. I'll get your reaction. This is President Biden on the rise of prices here. Here's that.
And now, second big reason for inflation is Vladimir Putin. The world took notice. The market anticipated. Prices went up. And then Putin invaded. Make no mistake, the current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan.
It continues to be dubbed the Putin price hike by the White House. The White House has reportedly worked with TikTok influencers who have millions of followers. They repeat the very same talking point that the high gas prices in Tennessee even, according to, would be for, or because of rather, President Putin. Your thoughts?
Well, absolutely wrong. Certainly, Putin's actions have contributed to this, but let me be unequivocally clear. From day one, the Biden administration, and specifically Joe Biden, have taken this country in the wrong direction on several fronts. Energy independence is one of them. We had it under President Trump. We were a net exporter of oil and natural gas. Biden, when he canceled the Keystone Pipeline and when he has basically gone out and done everything to thwart domestic energy production, it's outrageous, it's wrong, and it's left us in a position that we are vulnerable. And guess what? You leave someone in a position that they're vulnerable, and Biden did that. We had a crisis, and now that vulnerability is exposed. It's inexcusable. He needs to reverse course. He needs to sit down with Secretary Granholm and his entire cabinet and the American people and ramp up domestic American oil production. We've got it in this country. It's abundant. We need to reap it, harvest it, sell it to the world, and get our oil prices down.
But Congressman, I mean, in your opinion, why haven't we done that? We hear that. We hear that push. We hear that here's what you can do. But it doesn't seem like anything's being influenced. The president, as you well know, could go to the podium right at this hour and say, let's ramp this up. I encourage everyone to get out there and maybe incentivize oil companies or whomever needs to step up to do it. Why isn't that being done?
It's not being done because Joe Biden, from the inception, again, has done everything to listen to his radical left wing. I thought he was going to be more of a centrist president. I was wrong. Obviously, I didn't support Biden. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Republican. But I thought when I listened to his his inauguration speech, I remember vividly him saying he was going to govern from the center. He is not. He has listened to his radical left-wing advisors who have put us in a vulnerable position in terms of our economy. It has hurt on all fronts in terms of foreign policy. It hurt us in Afghanistan. He's got to recalibrate because the Democrats are going to get clobbered in the midterm elections, not because of conservative Republicans like me, but because the American people are going to say absolutely no to Joe Biden's domestic and foreign policy. We can feel it at the pumps. We can feel it in the workplace. We see it in the economy. We've got to have a complete reversal. We have gone from a robust economy under President Trump in all sectors, sectors, domestic, foreign. It's amazing. Trade, where we were in the previous administration to now, which is literally frailty and disaster. It's not too late to recalibrate, but Biden's got to step up and lead from the center and not listen to his radical left wing.
All right, Congressman Chuck Fleischmann joining us live of Tennessee. Congressman, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.